Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Stellar Cycles podcast, your hot girl database for everything we wish we were taught but get to learn now. This is going to cover everything pertaining to your femininity, your cycle and wellness, and just your walk in life in general as a woman. I'm your host, Alina, and today we're talking about the body's incredible ability to withstand life-threatening occurrences with a focus on the ovaries. I have a guest for you guys today. She is my colleague and my coworker. Her name is Shauna, and we'll bring her on a little bit later. But first, a few current updates for you. So we started off this year with a lovely vision board party at my friend Susanna's house. She invited over maybe about 4 or 5 girls, and she fed us amazing Bengali food. And we kind of crafted our 2024 vision boards together, which was so cool. And I forgot what it was like to do an activity that you can just get lost in like that, but truly that is what I would describe as flow state. And after we got done with our vision boards, we hung out, talked, connected, and it was just so lovely to be in that setting with such amazing, lovely women. So thank you, Susanna, for hosting that at your house. And for anyone who might take that as an idea, that's really a great way to spend some time with your friends. If you want to host someone or just kind of get a get together, a vision board party is a lovely idea. So this week, I was off to a very strong start, but got humbled very quickly. Nova's been having some potty issues, so I'm very, very happy to say that by now, 3 or 4 days later, it's resolved. Thank God. But it really threw me for a loop, and little things just kept happening and cropping up that I was like, wow, this is really getting in the way of how I envisioned going about my week, right? I couldn't get out onto the rooftop to meditate, and I kept needing like 5 naps because I was getting so tired, but luteal phase things. But still, yet we persevered and we got Nova through her trials and tribulations. So, yeah, definitely got through that, but we did get sidetracked with those happenings. I just wanted to say for social media, I think I'm gonna take a back seat on posting so often. I know I haven't been posting over the holidays, and that was really just to take a step back and take a refresher and really analyze what has been working, what you guys really vibe with. And I think that for the new year, what you can expect from me is on Mondays, obviously, you get the preview and the links and everything where you can find the newest episode. And on Thursdays, I will be posting a video, whether it's the food videos, the recipes that I've been sharing, or if it's maybe something useful, something that you guys can save and apply that day or the very next day. So that's going to be the social media schedule. Mondays and Thursdays is when you can expect to see content. Try to stay active on the stories, interact with you guys. Instagram's just a little difficult for me to harness right now. It just feels like getting engagement is a little tougher than you'd expect, but you know what? I love my community on there. I love the follower base that we've built and the information and tips and tricks that we all get to share. So, however, I am thinking, let me know if you guys would like this, to move more of the content to TikTok. So, more of like a daily vlog follow along of life and cycle syncing so you guys can really get ideas and inspiration of how you can do it yourself. And for YouTube, there's going to be more videos coming. There's going to be the Zoom interviews that I've already been doing, as well as my own studio. Yes, that is in the works. So, all right, let's get into this episode. So, the goal today is to highlight my friend and colleague, Shauna Dittl, and really share with you guys her story of surviving an ovarian rupture just a few months ago, which nearly cost her her life. So, this episode will bring to you her incredible story within her own health journey, not just that crazy experience, but also her health perspective as a longtime medical professional and now as a recent student of naturopathic medicine. So, this episode today will bring to you her incredible story about her own health journey, her health perspective as a longtime medical professional and recent student of naturopathic medicine, her secrets to staying positive and getting yourself out of a rut, some health and wellness tips that we haven't heard before. So let's get into today's episode with Shauna Dittl. Today we have on my friend, Sonographer Squats, also known as Shauna Dittl. She is a naturopathic doctorate student, an ultrasound professor, and a sonographer, a podcaster. Her podcast is called Waves of Joy. She's also an author, entrepreneur, a friend, a colleague. So please welcome to the Stellar Cycles podcast, Shauna.
Hello, hello,
Hi.
hello.
Yeah, so I met Shauna this past fall. Honestly, I only knew her for a couple of months. We met at Smith Chasen College, where we both teach ultrasound. And over the past few weeks and months, we've just connected on many wild topics during our couple of days a week together. And I've been asking her to come on the show and tell us about what happened to her, specifically her ovary, and how she came out of that crazy event.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's so funny when you meet people, you just click on different levels, and sometimes it's through one thing, but then you connect on a different level. And I
Mhm.
feel like we just kind of started talking about hormones and life and kind of girl things in ultrasound teaching. So it's kind of interesting. So thank you for having me. But yeah, I think that my story, always hope resonates with people. But back in August, it was just a typical Monday, and I was in school. Like you said, I'm in school for my doctorate in naturopathic medicine. And these were remote classes, so I was living in Colorado. And that evening, I just didn't feel really well, but it was an exam day. So I was like, let's have some wine and cheese and celebrate and just like, whatever. And I was just in so much pain. And I'm like, man, I'm ovulating, but this just doesn't feel right. And I was doubled over, but I have a very high pain tolerance. And I know that about me. And
Mhm.
also at the time, complete transparency, I didn't have any health insurance. I was going between working full time and being a student. And I thought of it, I was like, this is going to be an outrageous bill. I'm just going to deal with this, whatever this is.
Mhm.
And so I was in a lot of pain for about 7 hours. I looked probably like I was 6 months pregnant. I couldn't pee.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't stand up. I couldn't do anything. And I was just like crying.
Did your belly get big just in that one night?
Yeah, in those 6 hours, it just
Wow.
kept getting distended. And I was in pain, but I just felt like if I could pee, I would feel better. It was that kind of feeling where if I could just pee, but I couldn't pee. And so finally, I remember getting in the bathtub and I was like going in and out of consciousness almost. I was like just dizzy and I didn't feel right. Got out of the bathtub, sat on the floor, and I was dripping in sweat. And then I fell over. And then I would come back to. And so I was in shock and it didn't even click to me until
Mm.
I started having chest pain. And so I was like, oh no, like like this is it, like that this is a heart attack. Like something's going on with my heart now. Let's go to the emergency room. Mind you, my boyfriend was trying to get me to go to the emergency room, but I was like, no, just get me into bed. I'll be okay in the morning.
Yeah.
He saved my life, hands down. I wouldn't be here today.
Women
Uh,
really do have that fighting spirit that like, I'll just get through anything. It's fine. I'll just sleep it off, right?
yeah, it
Wow.
was this was the closest thing I ever came to not being here. I
Hmm.
should say. So it took, long story short, I got to the standalone ER and they had a CAT scan machine, and I knew that was the first thing they were going to do. And they put me through the CAT scan machine, and then they come in to put another IV in my other arm. And being in the medical field, I've been an ultrasound tech for 10 years. I know if the IV goes in the other arm that's usually for surgery. And I was like, well, what's going on? And they came in and they said, you have blood up above your liver, and that was what was causing the chest pain, and you're actively bleeding from your left ovary. You need to go into emergency surgery. And I think I was just in so much shock. I just stared at them, and they're like, the ambulance is on the way, because they had to bring me to a level one
Yeah.
center.
And they found this out through a CAT scan, you said?
Okay. And yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And a CAT scan, for those who don't know, it's really, really great at giving just a whole body snapshot so you can see kind of everything at once.
Yeah,
Right.
it's definitely the emergency way to go. It's immediate
Mm-hmm.
results. And it
Mm-hmm.
was minutes after my CAT scan that they came in and said, you got to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you guys, the whole time my blood pressure was tanking and my heart rate was through the roof. And those are signs of shock. And so they got me into an ambulance. I got over to the trauma center. I was about halfway through the ride, and they said that they had to turn the lights on. It's 2 in the morning now, and my boyfriend was following the ambulance. I said, well, why? And they said, because your vitals are going down. So I literally closed my eyes and I meditated myself into being stable so they did not have to turn these lights on, because I knew that he would think that I died in that ambulance if those
Yeah.
lights went on. And
Wow.
it was crazy. And so I just literally I meditate every day, and I there's been two instances that it has saved my life. And
Mhm.
so I was able to stabilize myself with my blood pressure at least, and
That's
my
crazy. I love that.
and
See,
it
meditation can save your life. You got to practice it.
you
You got to
do.
get good at it.
And just like on a, like I said, it was a normal Monday. And so you just never know. And so I just remember them saying 33-year-old female, actively, like all the things coming in through the trauma bay. And I just waited for Cam, but the surgeon came in and he was like, "Hey, you're like, we got to get you to surgery right now. You're bleeding a lot." So my belly was distended for two reasons. There was 700 cc's of blood in my abdomen, and my bladder was at 1,500 cc's. A normal bladder, like if you come in for an ultrasound and fill your bladder, it's around 200 to give reference. And mine was at 1,500 with 700 cc's of blood. So when I say I looked pregnant, like I legit looked like I was carrying a baby. Your body's amazing.
So you're saying there was more fluid in your bladder than there was of blood in your abdomen? Because it was
Yes,
1500?
because the blood is thick. It's the
Right.
viscosity is very thick, so it was pushing on my urethra, so I couldn't
Mm,
pee. So
wow.
I'm a very hydrated person, and
Right.
I did have a glass of wine, and I was
Mhm.
drinking my normal water, and so for 7 hours I
Ah,
couldn't pee.
oh my goodness.
So your body's incredible. Like the stretch capacity of your body is unreal. And so all of that fluid in my abdomen, and I was very uncomfortable, right? And just in so much pain. And they got me into surgery. They told Cam, my boyfriend, that it would be about 30 minutes, maybe an hour. 2 hours went by and they came out. And I remember asking the doctor before I went in, I said, "I haven't had kids yet." I said, "Can you please try to save my ovary?" My friends are in the medicine world as well. And they said the active protocol for something like this is to just take the ovary. And
Mhm.
so I'm grateful that I said that. And they said, had I not said that, he probably would have just taken it.
I'm sorry, what is the reason behind that protocol to just take it? Unless it's like life-threatening to keep it, it's kind of wild to me that their automatic move is to just remove the ovary when like it could be salvageable, is what I'm hearing, right?
Absolutely. And that's just how they're taught.
Wow.
And
And that's like
yeah,
a reproductive organ. That's an organ that creates our hormones that we
exactly.
need. Wow.
Absolutely. So it was bittersweet to be going through that. It's bittersweet because I just didn't know like how bad it was, but also like coming out on the other side of it. Like in this whole thing, nobody asked me how much money I had in my bank account. Nobody asked me anything about like the things that we focus on, the little shit, it doesn't matter. And so I went into surgery, came out. It is what it is. It was a laparoscopic surgery. It took so long because there was a lot more blood than they thought. And when something is actively bleeding, you have to cauterize it. So burn it and watch it stop. So the chances are I probably have half my left ovary. I don't even know, I guess. Regardless, he was able to save it. And then when I came out of that, I was still in shock. So when they got me up to go to the bathroom, I actually vasovagaled, which just means I fell over and they ended up calling a code.
Hmm.
So 26 people come in with a crash cart. I was unconscious and I lost so much blood, right? And so thankfully I came back from all of that and had scans of my head. It was a very traumatic experience.
Yeah, I had a quick question about the surgery, real quick. When they opened you up and they cauterized the bleed and all this stuff, what did they do about the bladder? Did they just kind of leave your bladder for you to deal with in
No,
recovery, or did they drain it?
yeah, they put a catheter in while
Oh,
I was
okay.
asleep in
Okay.
surgery. Yeah. And I'm funny about surgery. It takes me a long time to come out of the anesthesia. And so I just remember in all the pain I was in, I remembered to ask for them to save my ovary. And I
Mhm.
also said, give me as little anesthesia as possible because it
Mhm.
is the worst for me to come out of. Now,
Mhm.
if anybody's ever had laparoscopic surgery where they go in through your belly, they have to put gas in your belly, and it causes a lot of pain under your clavicle as the gas tries to move up out of your
Mhm.
body. And that's necessary for laparoscopic surgery, but it is unbelievably painful. Worse than my ovarian pain.
Wow.
After surgery, I was just crying because under my clavicle, my breaths were like I couldn't take a full breath because I couldn't
Mhm.
expand my rib cage.
Yeah, because there's like trapped air in
Yeah,
there. That's
exactly. Trapped gas trying to work its
crazy.
way. It's a lot, you know.
How was the recovery slash hospitalization after that? What,
I
you
think
know,
I
you
was
mentioned.
just I was sad. I was sad by Western medicine. They
Right.
wanted to give me, fentanyl and Vicodin and all these things to sedate me. And yes, I did need some pain medicine. I also know how that wrecks your gut bacteria and how it takes months. If you don't take probiotics or something with antibiotics, it ruins your like quality of life. And I had just went through a lot of hormone imbalances over the
Mm-hmm.
past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took as little as necessary. I also had a bruise the size of Texas on the left side of my body. When blood goes into your abdomen, it follows the course of your like your skin, the way your skin goes. It's
Okay.
interesting. I don't know how to explain that better, but I was black and blue from like the bottom of my boob, my left boob,
Mhm.
all the way down to like my hip bone.
Wow.
Black. I mean, looked like I got in a bad motorcycle accident or
No,
something.
you showed me a picture and it literally looked like you had been run over. A
Yeah.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And it didn't really hurt. Like it was kind of sore, but it didn't really hurt as much as it looked like it hurt. And so like my recovery there was okay, but I was just saddened by the amount of medication they wanted to give me.
Mhm.
The food that came out was not edible. I called Cam like
Oh,
crying. I made him go
yeah.
home because the poor man was up for like 2 days straight. I
Mhm.
said, go home, take care of the puppies, but please bring me back something in our refrigerator. And so there's just a lot of changes that need to be made in Western medicine. And they keep you sick longer because I couldn't see sunlight. I didn't have quality food. They just wanted to give me medicine. My own mind and my willpower got me out of that hospital within a day. I could have easily been there a week.
Oh, yeah. Tell
But
me about it.
one night, and
100%.
if you don't know to advocate for yourself, like you're just gonna sit there. So it's a tough thing. So
Mhm.
thankfully I'm okay. But the takeaway from the story, I hope, is to listen to your body. And who cares about health insurance
Mhm.
when your life is at stake? You figure out the money thing later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add? Obviously, like it was very striking being on the other end of the care, being a healthcare professional and working in hospitals and stuff, and now being a patient. But just from that perspective, do you have any tips for people who are they're stuck in a rough hospital stay and maybe they don't have the options to get the care that they believe that they need, but we've both seen how, like, strung out the hospital staff are and how they can't really attend to everything as best as they try to, but, yeah, I just wanted to know, like, from your perspective as both a naturopathic student and as an ultrasound tech and even as being a patient with this crazy story, like, what kind of advice would you give to people?
Well, you know what makes you feel good. So, for example, they wanted to give me so many things because I had an awful migraine. Remember, I lost so much blood. So, I had a migraine for 9 days. Okay.
Wow.
9 days. I just give me a face mask. But for me, what works is a cold cloth on my neck and lathering myself with peppermint oil. And
Mhm.
so, the medical assistant in the night, I remember one night she looked at me and I'm literally slapping peppermint oil. In peppermint oil, if you've ever put it on your face, it will make tears come to your eyes and like streamline.
Yes, it's
Potent,
so
right?
strong, yeah.
And I remember I woke up and I was on the oncology floor because I was in an overflow unit. And I don't know if they just had it there, but I said, I just need peppermint oil. I don't want your pills, peppermint oil. And I would lather myself. And so they were very respectful of what I asked. So if you don't have somebody to bring it to you, ask, somebody there at the hospital if they have something, whatever that is. But I knew that that would work for me. And she looked at me, that medical assistant that night. She goes, that is the craziest thing I've ever seen anybody do. And it was just peppermint oil,
And
but
it's like
it's
such a
potent.
basic
It's a basic.
ancestral remedy, right? But,
It
like,
is.
in the hospital, if they see you doing it, they're like, "Wow, that's crazy."
It is. Yeah. So they were really great with what I asked for, but you have to know what works for you and not be afraid to ask. The other thing was I wasn't in a room where I could see a window. I didn't see the outdoors. You
Mhm,
guys, sunshine, balancing your circadian rhythm is key to your recovery. So get close to a window.
mhm.
Do what they say, but also control the controllables. You can close your eyes and meditate. You can put in AirPods and believe something different than your current reality. And I think just that alone will help in your healing.
Yeah, 100%, and I think there's so much to be said that you do have to advocate for yourself, like you said earlier, because Hospitals are so busy and the staff are so tired and overworked that I think people get this misconception in their heads that, oh, if I get sick and if I get hospitalized, I'm going to be treated like, a royal or like a baby, and everyone's just going to be flittering around me and, trying to serve me. But it's like, no, nobody's going to be as invested in your care as you are. So you really have to know exactly, like, yes, I'll say yes to that. No, I will refuse that, and that's the thing, that's the beauty of hospitals, is you can refuse pretty much anything. So,
Absolutely. I love how you said that. That's definitely true.
yeah. And I know that since I've kind of met you and been following along your journey on your Instagram and stuff, you're very, very inspiring, from like getting up very, very early, hitting the gym, being very involved in your health life, both yourself and your partner. Your food looks really, really good that you make. So I'm just wondering, have you always been this driven to be healthy? Kind of, when did this start for you? What have been the pivotal points for your health?
Yeah, thank you for inquiring about that. I feel we don't know, we can't change what we don't know, right? And so
Mhm.
I didn't know what made me feel good until I started changing things. I was the typical like in college, I drank beer from my keg and I ate pizza and I ate bagels at 2 in the morning and I partied. That was
Mhm.
my undergrad. I had yellow teeth. I was overweight. My rosacea was terrible, awful acne.
Yeah.
I didn't know any different, right? And that was 13 years ago now at this point, right?
Mhm.
And I actually went through a really, really traumatizing breakup at the end of ultrasound school. And I was like, I need something to focus my energy. And I hired this trainer. It was the biggest dude in the gym in New York, upstate
Mhm.
New York. And he really taught me a lot about myself, like what a shoulder press was,
Mhm.
how good it can be to know what macronutrients are. And so this was back in 2015. And I'd have to say that that was the catalyst to my bodybuilding career of 7 years, where I learned a lot, not only about myself, about discipline and motivation, but also how food makes me feel.
Mhm.
And did I eliminate a lot so I could compete? For sure. But I also educated myself. I was a personal trainer. I did nutrition plans for people. I really encompassed the holistic approach of mind, body, soul when you're trying to feel good. And I
Mhm.
ran a very successful business, SX3, while I was in the midst of competing, still working in the hospital. And I loved helping people, educating them. I'm all about education. So was it forever for me? Like, did I always do it? No, I grew up eating whatever mom made me.
Mhm.
And bless my mom, bless my small town, but we didn't have access to herbs and farmers markets all the time. We lived in a small town in upstate New York and
Yep.
had what we had, right? And so
Right.
it was on me to educate myself. And then when I realized what made me feel good, I know what doesn't make me feel good. And so it's just actively choosing to feel good. And that helps me create my mornings. That's why you see me up at 4:30. That's why you see me sleeping 8 hours, because I feel good with what I'm doing.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And how do you stay so positive despite everything coming your way and all of the changes and all of the things that you've been dealing with? Because you're truly like one of the most positive people I've ever met.
I'm annoyingly happy. And
Yeah.
I will admit that. For my partners, like it's tough. And it's not annoying to me, but
Not
it's
annoying to me either. I
thank
think it's
you.
very necessary.
But it's like, how do you always see the good in something that feels so bad? And I like to look at it like life is always happening for you, not to you. So in the heaviest, shittiest seasons, I've been through a divorce. I've been close to death. I've been, moving across the country, making decisions. There's always a bigger plan than yours. And I think the mindset of like, this feels good right now, I'm going to go with it. But if we need to pivot, that's okay too. That kind of mindset gets you through anything. Truly, nothing's that bad. Like I said, my last wishes, nobody asked me. They asked Cam what are her wishes? Like, does she want to be resuscitated? That was a normal Monday.
Wow.
Nobody wondered, what are you gonna do with my puppy? Does she have a 401(k)? Nobody cares. Keeping
Mhm.
up with the Joneses doesn't make you happy. And so I
Mhm.
don't wish anybody a near-death experience, although death and disease do bring us closer to what really does matter. And I
Mhm.
feel like those situations happen for me so I can
Mhm.
impact you guys so you don't have to go through that. And that's where I try to really, really bring out whatever it is, like find the light, because
Mhm.
on the other side of, the heavy season is a light season, but guess what? The heavy seasons are coming again too. So
Hear that.
build
Yes.
resilience and believe in that you have one life and there's only one you. So if you want
Mhm.
to do it, do it. And if you don't,
Yes.
don't.
Yes, I think it's the easiest thing in the world to allow yourself to feel discouragement, disappointment, to really like simmer in that and let that like become your reality and your narrative. But like, how magical is it to have that power as a human being to look at something, be like, no, I can actually find something really good about this, even though it's a really crappy situation, right? And it's like doing that over and over and over and being able to transmute and like alchemize like that is where your personal like confidence grows, I think, as a person, right?
Absolutely. Not giving the power to your life situation
Mhm.
or to external circumstances, but holding the power within you to
Mhm.
just take a deep breath and make a better decision, you know?
Totally. Do you have any staple moves for yourself for when you do get into a rut or when you need kind of like a refresher?
Absolutely. I know when I need to be alone. I know I need to fill up my own cup before I can show up the way you guys see me. So whether I'm visiting family or friends are visiting, I make it a point to listen to myself because you're going to get not the best Shauna if Shauna hasn't sat and meditated that morning for 5 minutes or even 10. So for me, it's knowing when I just need to sit and be alone.
Mhm.
And be alone could look like a walk on the beach, a walk in the park. Just cuddling my puppy is like healthy hormones, right? Healthy
Yeah,
feel
all
good
that
hormones.
oxytocin.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that sometimes it's just slowing down. And luckily I have a partner who slows me down. I am a mile a minute because I live life with so much purpose. I don't want to just be a doer. I want to have purpose. And so for me, that looks like a morning routine. That looks like consistency. But also when things don't go my way and I don't get to do all those things, I don't have a meltdown. I go back to what works for me. And that's a few deep breaths. That's just centering myself. That's remembering that some people didn't wake up today
Yeah.
and I did. And so it's up to me to make the most of it.
Yeah. I love that you always remind us of that. Some people didn't get to wake up today, you know? So I love it. Can we touch a little bit on your naturopathic journey? I'm just curious, when did this desire originate for you? Have you always wanted to be a doctor since you were a little girl, or is this more recent since being in the medical field?
So, no, hell no to your first question. I never wanted to be a doctor. I dated a medical student when I was in ultrasound school. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Why would you ever put yourself through that?
Yeah.
And here I am 10,
Mhm.
11 years later, but life happened for me. And I am believing in what the universe is offering me and how I can help people heal, right? And
Mhm.
so after bodybuilding in 2021, I was really sick. I had leaky gut,
Mm.
H. pylori, Giardia, SIBO. I was very sick. I was depressed. I didn't know what depression was. I couldn't get
Mm.
out of bed. And I was like, whoa, I just ruined my whole life with bodybuilding. But I didn't. It was happening for me. It just took me a
Mhm.
while to see. So I was in Colorado. Western medicine basically wrote me off. Like, here's antidepressants. We're going to get you on hormone replacement therapy, and you're not going to be able to ever have kids. And I was 29 years old. And
Wow.
I was like, okay, I guess. And then
Fun
I felt
prognosis.
awful. And I didn't know
Yeah.
why I ended up in Colorado, but for some reason I did. They're really big in the holistic natural remedies. And I love that. So I found a naturopathic doctor in Denver, and I say she saved my life. For 2 years,
Mhm.
we worked together. I was laced with heavy metal poisoning. So I was
Mm.
like losing my memory. I couldn't get out of bed, all these things. So the way she helped me is the way that I wanted to help others. So personal
Mhm.
training and nutrition was great, but I could only help people to a superficial level that I
Mhm.
felt that I could go so much deeper
Right.
if I had those credentials. And sometimes you need the credentials to just do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I ended up out here in San Diego and my life is transitioning again. It's not the program I thought it was, not for me at all. And the better setup for me was my first choice, which is in Arizona. And so I leave in 6 weeks
Yeah.
to move down to Phoenix, and it's a 4-year journey. And I'm so excited because I'm not rushing to the end to just get a piece of paper and go work the rest of my life.
Right, right. You want to be very deliberate and intentional about the whole process. Very good for you. I'm so happy that you ended up getting your first choice. I think in this way, like even if you do take a little detour, at the end of the day, all things do work together for your good. So I am excited to see what you're going to do. And do you want to share at all what your hopes and aspirations are as a naturopathic doctor? Like, what's the problem that you're setting out to solve specifically?
That's a great question. I think something that I'll get more clarity on as I go along in the program.
Mhm.
If you were to ask me right now, I would help people who are trying to leave extreme sports, people who have
Okay.
left extreme sports and done a lot of, I want to use air quotes of like damage, but like taken their body to the extreme where it's like if you don't get on ABC pills, you're not going to have a quality of life.
Right.
So that's how I feel right now because bodybuilding is still really close to like who I am and not my identity, but I felt like I had nowhere to go. And if I can just offer that space for
Mhm.
people, but my vision is so big, I'm looking at how I want to help people. And I think along my clinicals and stuff, I'll be able to better navigate that.
Mhm.
But
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah. You really do find that out with your hands in the mud, so they say, you know?
that's it. And I want to write like a lot more books. I want to do
Mhm.
research. I want to
Okay.
incorporate acupuncture and muscle testing.
Yeah.
There's so many, like the vision is huge, but
I
we'll
love it.
see. We'll see.
Is there a myth that you can bust for us about kind of like the holistic naturopathic world? I know it's getting a lot more mainstream, but I also understand that some people still have some resistance and some skepticism towards it.
The myth is we're not witch doctors. We
Yeah.
we do believe in like Western medicine saved my life just 4 months ago. If I
Mhm.
didn't believe in that care, we are abusing that care though. So what I want to offer you is like believe it or not, Western and Eastern medicine can marry together and make a beautiful symphony if you allow it. Your hormones and your daily choices are constantly impacting who you are as a person. And so if you mask it with Western medicine pills
Mhm.
and you don't seek out alternative ways, you're actually not living your best life. So the myth is we're not witch doctors. We do believe in things other than some essential oils. And
Right.
and I think that if you can marry the two, you can live a very beautiful life.
Absolutely. I think there's no need to like demonize something just because it can't be as highly profitable as big pharma. That's
I
really the only way
love
I
that.
can put that,
Yes.
like we don't have to attribute some like nasty dark energies to it. We can just be like, no, like these options will literally have existed for us since we've been here. It's just that now there's people who are so much more interested in making a lot of money that they won't FDA approve an herb, right? Because you can't FDA approve an herb. It would be
It's
insane.
gone by the wayside exactly for
Yeah.
financial reasons. And that's why we're encouraging sick care. So if you're going to the
Mhm.
it's sick care, we're encouraging not health care. And
Yeah.
because healthcare would be getting down to like, okay, you have high blood pressure or diabetes. Why? Not
Mhm.
here's a pill, but why? And the why takes a lot longer to figure out, which is why just one appointment with a naturopathic doctor is 90 minutes, and one appointment with your
Yes.
primary care doctor is 7 to 10. Big
Right.
difference. But
Massive
the
difference.
goal is different too. So
Mhm.
yeah, you make a lot of great points.
Thank you so much for coming on, Shauna. I really appreciate it. I wanted to ask you, where can the listeners find your book?
Oh, my book's on Amazon. This
Okay.
was a one-off book that I wanted to see if I could write a book and see what it was
Mhm.
to publish it. And it's Croissants and Espresso, the brutally honest diary of a solo backpacker,
Okay.
Shauna by Shauna Dittl, and it's right on Amazon. You can also follow me on Instagram, Sonographer Squats. I need to change that handle because I'm a sonographer and I do squat, but I'm going to be a naturopathic doctor, so I got to
Yeah,
change
your
that.
identity is expanding,
I
so should
know.
your Instagram handle.
I
I
agree.
love it.
My link tree has all my links to everything as well too. I have
Yes.
ebooks for sonographers on like how to become a traveling sonographer because I did that for
Okay.
many years. But yeah, and then of
You
course my
guys.
email just shauna@shaunadiddle.com is a great way to get a hold of me as well.
Yeah, you guys see, Shauna has so much to offer. I hope that you can go in and just see all of her really cool stuff. And her podcast can be found anywhere, Waves of Joy, and it comes out every Monday. I love it. There's something to be gained every single week.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yeah, anything else you want to plug?
No,
No?
remember,
Okay.
life is always happening for you, not
Life
to
is
you.
always happening for you. Yes, we love it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
having
much,
me.
Shauna. Make sure to follow on Instagram at Stellar Cycles Pod. You can download our free grocery guide by following the link in the bio. This just gives you ideas of what to eat depending on the phase that you're at in your cycle. It brings me great joy to read reviews or see ratings that you guys leave for this podcast, and it helps the channel grow. So please spread the good word about Stellar Cycles, and let's all elevate our lives and dreams together. Till next time, Stellar Cycles out.